and welcome to another edition of 310 to Left, presented by your New England Ford dealers and F-Series, America's best-selling truck for 48 years and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox. Tom Caron with you here in Houston still as we wrap things up for the road trip. Alex Speier keeping the home fires burning as he is patiently awaiting for the homestand to begin. Alex, how are you?
I'm, on pins and needles, waiting for that lengthy 5-game homestand, I suppose. But otherwise, great. Tom, how's Houston?
Houston is swampy and soupy and 10,000% humidity. Stay indoors. That is my only advice. It is interesting. You pick up the 5-game homestand. When's the last time there was a Wednesday scheduled off day in August? That's an unusual one.
Yeah, that's we would have to go back and we would have to go back through the annals in order to figure that one out. But that's a little bit bizarre and kind of funny, right? Because the Red Sox pushed very hard to avoid when they had the rain out with the Orioles back in April. Like they really worked hard to keep that off day present. So I'm sure they're thrilled for it right now and having a little chance to reset the pitching stuff.
It is sort of, they go to New York, right? And that's going to be a very interesting series because they've been very good against the Yankees, and the Yankees are going to be looking for their revenge. But Bronx visits notwithstanding, they've kind of gotten through that gauntlet we've talked about forever, right? Like now you get Baltimore, again after the Yankees, you get Pittsburgh, Cleveland, but it's then Arizona and a lot of the Athletics. Like, if you're going to beef up on your record, you kind of got the next few weeks to do it by and large.
Yeah, they're getting some of the sellers from the deadline, right? They've gotten through. They're getting through the stage that had the buyers, and now it's the teams that are on the opposite side of the coin, where whether it's teams that have parted with starting pitchers, and so theoretically you should be able to do some damage in the early innings against them, and then leave them kind of scrambling over the rest of a series in their bullpen. Obviously, nothing that's ever on paper in baseball works out as it lines up to do so. But yes, there's an opportunity for the Red Sox certainly to make hay, and of course there's also some home games coming up which they haven't had a ton of recently. But they're a drastically better team at home than they are on the road, and they're not alone in that among contenders. But the skew is has been pretty drastic of late, and so they're certainly happy to be coming home.
Interesting times in Houston. It was the Alex Bregman return, the home run on the first at bat was one of the wilder moments. I was talking to his father, the gubernatorial candidate in New Mexico, and he was on Tuesday, and he was saying, he's seen a lot of great moments from Alex Bregman. He goes, but that was right up there, and then the boos when he gave back up to his second at bat of the game, and Bregman so excited to be booed. He was saying afterwards, now I know that I'm officially part of the Red Sox when they're booing me in Houston. Then on Tuesday, goes oppo, right? He goes opposite field, hits the foul pole in right field. For 9 years, if he did that, everyone in Houston got free chicken because that is a sponsorship on the foul pole. Nobody gets free chicken now because he did it for the Red Sox. So it's very confusing time in Houston. But kind of, while Bregman stole the headline, how about Roman Anthony? Right, we've been talking about the power will come. He homers in back-to-back games for the first time. And he draws 4 walks on Tuesday. Should have been 5 because it was a horrible call on the check swing. It should have been ball 4. And what there's the last player that young to walk 4 times and hit a home run, and the only player to do it that young was Ted Williams. That's when you start having the Adam Pellerin postgame with the graphic that has 2 faces on it. Ted Williams and Roman Anthony. And when you start being the other face on a graphic with Ted Williams, you are in rarefied air.
Yeah, being the contrast to the black and white photo guy is always is usually a pretty good sign of how things are going for you. And this is what Roman Anthony was doing that created a high degree of confidence that if the Red Sox were to call him up at any point in those first couple of seasons, when every interview that you and I had with Craig Breslow necessarily included the question, by the way, when's Roman Anthony coming up? This is why, because his at-bats are incredibly advanced. He he controls the strike zone in a way that few other players are capable of doing so. It still remains to be, you keep wondering, is this going to prove something of a vulnerability? Are opposing pitchers going to be able to identify Roman Anthony as a passive hitter and use that as an opportunity to attack him in the zone? No, because he's ready when they attack him in the zone, and we're seeing that with the kind of counter move with him increasingly driving the ball in the air. We're seeing a lot of it. We're seeing a lot of it from gap to gap. He's been, he's hitting homers to dead center. He's hitting homers just a little bit to the right of center. We're seeing him drive the ball to left center, and it is just such a startlingly calm approach in the box. I think that there was a graphic somewhere else that I saw that identified the players who are both in the 95th percentile or better in terms of chase rate and in terms of average exit velocity. And there are two players who fall into that boat. One of them is Roman Anthony. The other one is Juan Soto. So the guy who got paid like $18 billion this offseason by the Mets, like Roman Anthony, from an approach standpoint, there are some similarities happening there. And again, you're bringing up the Ted Williams comp. That's really special. There's going to be an adjustment period. There's going to be probably a period of struggle. It always happens. But boy, the first couple of months for Roman Anthony in the big leagues have been something to behold.
It was a really funny moment. We were waiting for Dustin May in the locker room, the clubhouse postgame, and the players were kind of yelling Soto comments over to Roman Anthony, right? They were like, the new nickname they were suggesting would he could be John Soto. You got Juan Soto, he's John Soto, right? Everyone got a pretty good laugh out of that. But and when you put Alex Bregman behind him, suddenly for a pitcher, right, those two first batters, to your point, right, they're not going to chase anything outside the zone. They're going to hunt and attack if you throw it in. It's a really difficult first two batters to face, and plenty of good hitters behind them, obviously. But we saw it last in Game 2 on Tuesday night. It's really tough for a starting pitcher to settle in when you start with Roman Anthony and Alex Bregman in the lineup.
Particularly when you take stock of the number of pitches that Roman Anthony typically does see over the course of a game, and what that allows Alex Bregman to do in terms of using his strength, which is the visual apparatus, right? Like, Alex Bregman sees the game in a very special way. He is able to pick up things from pitchers. The more that he sees them on the mound, the more he's able to process something that he is going to be able to use to his advantage and often to his team's advantage. And in this case, the fact that he's getting to stand in the on-deck circle while Roman Anthony is seeing, 25 pitches in a given night, that is a significant asset for the Red Sox.
Now, Red Sox have 19 games, I think it is, with 10 or more runs, the most in Major League Baseball. They're really good at adding on, which is really good for Red Sox pitchers. Tuesday was a good example. A 2-0 game, very tight. Then they bust it wide open. Really good outing for Dustin May. And after the game, couldn't wipe the smile off his face. This is a guy who rides the highs. He said, I ride the emotion, I ride the highs. And there haven't been a lot of highs over the last few years, as he said. So his second outing, it had been a while, he said, since he's on a normal 5-day routine, knowing he was going to get the ball. Even in LA, he was the guy pushed back. He was the guy skipped at times, right? There were injuries over the last couple of years. So he said to get the ball back on a 5-day routine, to be able to get out, get ready, use the fastball early. The breaking stuff was good. It was a really important step forward for May as far as the Red Sox go.
Yeah, and he's in his first couple of starts with the Red Sox, he's shown an ability to do something a little bit, like not massively, but a little bit better than the other members of the rotation in recent days, which is get some swings and misses, right? I think that he has something like a 13% swing and miss rate in his 2 starts with the Red Sox, and that's better than any other Red Sox starting pitcher, aside from Garrett Crochet, of course, since the All-Star break, right? It's marginally better than Bayo and Giolito. It's significantly better than Buehler and Cooper Criswell in that fantastic start that he made was a pitch to contact guy. And as we know, that the idea of missing bats is something that is prized by teams. And so May has shown some ingredients that allow him to do so. The fastball life was really, really good. It was executed to really good locations over the course of that Astros start. That gave a little glimpse of what the Red Sox hope to capture in a bottle. Dustin May has been inconsistent this year. There's a reason why he was that guy for the Dodgers who was skipped. But in the postseason, you're sometimes just hoping to catch lightning in a bottle when it comes to finding that one outing that where things come together and you can really you execute really well that day. And so, you know, whether it is May or whether it is some of the more recent Buehler outings, or, you know, that's the Red Sox are hoping for glimpses. There is not going to be another pitcher behind Garrett Crochet who kind of stands as that pillar of, like, you know, that this guy is coming to the mound with a likelihood of dominating. But you have pitchers who have the possibility of doing so on any given day in a short series.
All right, which gets us all to what the Red Sox need to do to not only make the playoffs, but go deep in the playoffs. And here's spoiler alert, you need a good bullpen, right? That's what happens in the playoffs. That's what happens in September. And the Red Sox think that, you know, statistically, they have one of the better bullpens in the American League and third best ERA as we talk right now. And it'll be interesting when you get to September, you get to add a couple of people who will be coming up. David Sandlin certainly on the radar. They moved him to the bullpen. Let's get into that. Let's talk about it after we hear from him, because, Alex, you were in Worcester. You spoke with David Sandlin. Here it is, David Sandlin on 310 to Left, presented by your New England Ford dealers.
Here with David Sandlin at Polar Park. David, great to see you. You have been moving along, and this has been a very interesting couple of weeks, right? Moving from AA to AAA, what did that signify for you? And moving from the rotation to the bullpen, what did that mean for you?
Yeah, no, it's definitely been awesome moving up, especially getting to go with early and then shortly followed by Tolley, getting to come up here with those guys. I think it all kind of signifies to us, like, hey, you're one step away, you're one phone call away from helping the big league team. And then obviously going to the pen just solidifies kind of like, hey, this is what the organization thinks will get you up there. So, like, you speed up the call coming. I'm all game for it.
This has been a really interesting year for you because, you know, a number of things have been going on. First of all, you've been logging more innings than you ever have in your life. What is that like to be, you know, to be on the mound, you know, like to be on the mound, you know, kind of working up to this, you know, to this real workload that you've been striving for through your professional career?
No, it's been awesome. Obviously, super blessed to have a healthy year thus far. Stay on the field. All the credit to the strength staff, the medical staff with the Red Sox, keeping me on the field, helping me do what I need to do off the field as well to stay on the field. But it's been awesome. Obviously, one of my goals, I feel like I told you in spring training, was to have a healthy year, have the inning count go up. So to be a part of that, it's really special.
Right. That's the huge first check mark that allows all the other ones to come up. So one thing that's always been fascinating for me, your reputation preceded you as, like, he throws hard, right? Like, you know, we were seeing viral clips of you throwing 101 miles an hour while working out in the off season. Yeah. And yet, you know, like, in some ways your fastball had played below the velocity in the past, right? Mm-hmm. Like, because, and I think, you know, part of that was extension, which I thought that's something that you really can't tinker with too much. Yeah. Like, how a pitcher moves down the mound is how a pitcher moves down the mound. And I think you're proving me wrong, because from what I understand, you've managed to really, like, you know, to really kind of not only hold really good velocity as a starter this year, but also you're getting about 8 inches to a foot further out towards the hitters in where you're releasing the ball. How do you go through that process? What is that?
I think it just is something that kind of just happened. Obviously, getting different parts of the body looser and moving more efficiently down the mound. It's not something like we tried to, like, hey, we want to improve your extension. It was like, hey, like, let's work on the hips. You'll stride a little longer, and then when I stride it a little longer, I can reach out a little more, and then getting the shoulder in a good spot for mobility there, I can reach out a little more, and everything just kind of tying together down the road. I actually just learned, like, I feel a couple months ago myself, I went and looked at the report, and I was like, oh, shoot, like, I'm extending, like you said, half a foot to a foot longer than I was 2 years ago. So it's been really cool to see that, and obviously it helps the fastball while not sacrificing the velocity. Right,
and you also, you're forcing hitters to make decisions faster, and you have this, you know, very diverse arsenal that you've been broadening a lot this year, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you were, please correct me if I'm wrong, I think that you were, like, primarily anchoring, the fastball was a four-seamer, and this year, I believe you've added both a sinker and a cutter off of that?
Yeah, sinker is definitely more of a recent kind of thing. It was one day we were actually working on the changeup, and Willard was like, here, just hold the ball like a two-seam, throw it, and then throw your changeup. And I threw the two-seam, and we looked at each other like, hey, that might be something there. And it's just kind of been more and more throughout games trying to introduce it and try to pat it down to have a weapon to get kind of righties off the plate. So it's been really cool to be a part of that. Obviously now with the move to the pen, trying to decrease the amount of pitches I had, so we can make decisions quicker and just choose the weapons that need to be thrown.
And just to finish the conversation, so you you already had a changeup grip that preceded the two-seamer, right? So so you are the 3 different kinds of fastballs plus sweeper. Are you you're still hammering the sweeper?
Yep.
Slider.
Yep.
And changeup.
Yes.
6 options, or we got more on the tank?
And then there was also a curveball.
Yes, there's also a curveball.
There were 7 options. I think at one point.
How many buttons are there on PitchCom?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Luckily, didn't throw all those in the. I don't think we threw a single. We threw 1 curveball, I think, and no changeups. So we stuck with the 5. But I think on my pitch chart, we also had a splitter at the beginning of the year. So there's 8 different pitches on the pitch chart, and a lot of the guys get a kick out of that. Yeah.
Well, so how do you decide? How do you figure out what is where the moneymaker is, right? Like what is when you think about anchoring? It's interesting because we are in an era where we're using 98. It used to be establish the fastball, right? If you threw 98, then you were going to throw the fastball 50 to 60% of the time. That's out the window, right?
Yeah.
There are outings where I watch Garrett Crochet using his cutter in order to be able to anchor him, particularly because that's a pitch that is nasty, that he's able nasty stuff in the zone is a thing that's on with a slight variation on that we won't go into. Is a thing that you guys put on the back of t-shirts here. The cutter is a really good weapon for being able to anchor that. What do you anchor your mix with at this point? What is your primary pitch?
I think it honestly depends on kind of the approach that the team or hitter has. The cutter's been a good option. Sinker also been a good option. Kind of just still show them something hard, but get them off the fastball a little bit. And then I'd say the 2 off-speed pitches are the sweeper and the gyro slider. Kind of slow them down and something that gets a little depth, but sweeper better to righties, gets more run. The gyro will get under the bats to the lefties.
What you kind of built into this season, right? And you already talked about some of the physical changes that you were able to make that unlocked more extension. For you, what got you on somewhere around, I want to say mid-May or so in Portland, you really kind of caught a wave, right? And you've been riding it really for most of the summer.
Yeah.
What to you was that just really being able to get consistent in your delivery, to be able to lock in command of where your fastball was going, or was it being able to create these different shapes to the fastball that prevented the hitters from getting too comfortable? What do you think got you onto this really nice run that kind of has propelled you up to AAA?
I would say the biggest thing is just not being just a thrower, kind of thinking on the mound. Having thoughts of what the hitter likes from going up there. We get the scouting reports now in the dugout in between innings, kind of seeing what the tendencies of hitters are, and then obviously mixing up usages. I would say the next big thing. I think there was the outing that really turned it around. I think was the Altoona outing, and I think I threw 18 fastballs all game out of 80-something pitches, and that's the lowest fastball percentage I've thrown over my career. And then now that allows open venues down the road when you play other teams. So he's not afraid to get away from the fastball. So some teams will still have to respect it. I think we were playing Richmond, and they were kind of cheating to the off-speed stuff. Yep. So I got to abuse them a little more with the fastball. And then the other teams will still cheat the fastball, so I get to go to the off-speed. So just kind of picking up on the tendencies, thinking through outings, thinking through how to dissect the other lineups, that has been the biggest thing.
So you just had your first career. Was that the first career bullpen outing that you'd had? You would come in at least behind as a piggyback starter.
As a true bullpen guy. Yes, that's the first time.
How's that different?
Does not take as many pitches as you think to warm up. I think I was trying to get warm, and the next day I asked, and they were like, "Yeah, you threw 25 to 30 pitches in the pen." I was like, "Yeah, that's a little too much." Caught myself trying to catch my breath there after the first hitter. So obviously it's going to be a learning curve, trying to figure things out, how to operate, how to carry myself, how to day-to-day operations, kind of how to keep the body in the place that I want it to be. But it was fun. The adrenaline was definitely there. I feel like it's almost you got to tame that adrenaline a little bit.
Well, the other interesting part is that you aren't establishing a mix, right? You're coming out you're kind of looking for swing and miss from pitch 1 and pitch 2 and pitch 3, right? How different is that from a mentality standpoint?
It's a lot of fun. You just think, hey, I just get to go at this guy, try to blow his doors up or make him look like a fool up there in 3 to 4 pitches, and then the next guy you're just emptying the tank, as we like to say, as soon as you get out there, because you got 1 to 2 innings. So
both the promotion to AAA and the move to the bullpen, those those are elements where the organization is telling you something, right, about your proximity to the big leagues. Another kind of interesting moment in time is trade deadline. Your name is mentioned, is mentioned a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like people like me are speculating that this is going to be someone who is going to be brought up in trade conversations. And I'm right. Were like, teams are asking about you. At the same time, I think that you actually were one of the most interesting people in the Red Sox organization for me, because I feel like you also represented kind of a bar that, like, it wasn't just a question of like, what is David Sandlin's potential future value, but also like the Red Sox viewed you as someone who potentially could contribute down the stretch. And so it was like, anyone who we acquire, we have to feel like they would be like their impact would exceed that of, potentially of a David Sandlin down the stretch. How interesting was all of the stuff leading up to the deadline for you? Is it confusing? Is it like tedious? Is it exciting? What is it?
I mean, we do the best to kind of ignore it. Obviously, it's in the back of our head, and especially mine, knowing like going into a Rule 5 year, that if Red Sox wanted to get value for me, if they don't plan on, obviously, in the offseason, I didn't know what was going on. So I knew it was a possibility. Obviously, this is where I want to be. I'm happy I'm still here. But yeah, we just trying to ignore it and go about your day. And obviously, just you're out here playing baseball. You can't control where you're going to go or what's going to happen.
It is funny because like we also sometimes lose sight of the fact that you are now in year 2 of your time with the Red Sox, and like the circumstances of your arriving with them was weird.
Yeah.
You were in the middle of spring training, right? Like you're just kind of like easing into the start of a season with the Royals, and all of a sudden, boom, you're a member of a new organization. When you think about the pitcher you are now versus the one that you were at the time that you were leaving Arizona, what is it? Surprise Arizona?
Surprise.
When you were leaving Surprise Arizona, how different a pitcher are you right now than the one that you were then?
I think the maturity level is miles above where I was. I think it goes back to like last year. It was kind of just out there throwing a bit ball, just trying to throw it hard, trying to make stuff look nasty. Not really thinking about how to get stuff out. But a lot of last year was also working on stuff. So, like you said, getting traded right before spring training, you don't get the opportunity to work on stuff in the offseason like some of the other guys do. So I think that's another big difference this year is having that offseason with the organization, knowing kind of what they thought this year would look like, and then having more of a padded down arsenal coming into the year made it a lot easier.
So everyone talks about, like, everyone in Worcester talks about, like, be where your feet are, right? Like, come on now. Like, there's some conversation about what the next step would be. How much do you think about, when you're hanging with guys like Connolly Early, like Peyton Tolley, who you've known for a little bit, like, you can't completely tune out what the next step would be, right?
Yeah, I mean, you try to, but obviously it's there in the subconscious of your head. But no, like I feel we do a really good job being where our feet are. Great group of guys here. All of us have the same mission of helping the big league squad. So it's really fun to show up and kind of compete every day here to hopefully do that. But thinking about it, it's really cool to think about like the possibilities, especially with how the guys are playing up there.
Yeah.
It's like everybody sees this as a year that they really can contend and they will contend. So it's definitely been like, man, like could be up there in a month helping them in the playoffs, and eventually like it could be like if everything comes down to fruition, you could be helping them in the World Series. Like, so it's a really cool thing to think about. Sometimes a little nerve-wracking, but obviously that's the goal, so you can't let that affect you.
Yeah, no, like it is a different thing when you're thinking about not just the possibility of like a look as a September call-up because they're playing out the string versus like, no, the bar that you have to clear is being able to contribute in the middle of a pennant race against elite teams. So, that kind of gives you something like you have to aim high, but it makes it pretty exciting.
Yeah, no, I feel like it really allows us to push ourselves down here because I don't think any of us would have it any other way. Like, it's a lot of fun to be in an organization that's winning. So,
very good. David, thanks so much. Great to see you.
Thank you for having me.
3:10 to left is presented by your New England Ford dealers who've been taking everyone out to the ball game at Fenway Park for decades. Catch Ford next time you're at Fenway, including in the Ford Clubhouse, a full-service bar perfect for bringing your lineup together and for recording our live edition of 3:10 to left. It's all brought to you by your New England Ford dealers and F-Series, America's best-selling trucks for 48 years and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, Alex, it's such a great reminder that, pitching is pitching, but coming into a game, learn what happened. They do 25 warm-up pitches the first time. I mean, you've got to figure out that how to be ready, but not how to use up your bullets before coming into the game.
And that's still obviously a work in progress for David Sandlin, who has now made 3 relief appearances in Worcester. The first one was kind of coming off of his starting routine. And that was the one with 25 to 30 pitches. The second one, he's coming in on 3 days of rest so that's kind of the shortest rest interval he's ever had as a professional. Then he comes back on Tuesday on 2 days of rest, and it did not go well. It was 20 pitches, just 8 of them being strikes. So this is still a work in progress as he figures out the routine. But, there's also an upside play here, right? Where the Red Sox are exploring this because they recognize that if he can catch that wave out of the bullpen, then his stuff, when you're talking about a guy who's been touching 99-ish, I think he touched 99.9 miles an hour in his Tuesday outing. He's pushing some velocity limits with really good secondary weapons, with the cutter, with the slider, with the sweeper. Like there's a lot of stuff there that he can use in order to potentially be good. Might not happen, but it might, and that's what they're trying to see as they try to configure who's going to be there and who's going to be a bullpen weapon. Is Jordan Hicks going to be a bullpen weapon, or is he still going to be, kind of working through stuff? Like he's talking about changing up his pitch mix and his selection with obviously a great arm, but the performance hasn't been great. And then you're wondering about like where are the other pieces be at that moment in time of getting into October? Are they going to be, at their freshest and most dominant selves, or are they going to be, kind of running on fumes? In which case, you might have to make some decisions that reflect that moment in time rather than the bigger picture of what they've contributed over the season.
By the way, if you throw 99.9, you know what that means? It means you don't throw fuego. You don't get a T-shirt.
Although David Sandlin did receive his fuego shirt last year, having eclipsed 100 miles an hour last year. So yes, fortunately the apparel is there.
It's just hard to keep it. That's all. I don't think you have to give it back. I think once you throw fuego, you are forever a T-shirt
Right, you make
owner.
a point of having a workout in it, sweating through it, and then no one's going to want it back. Right. You get to keep it.
Then it's yours. Nobody wants nobody wants used fuego. The bullpen, obviously, with Chapman at the end of it, has been really good, and Garrett Whitlock has been, just the quiet leader of that bullpen in so many ways, right? And a guy who on Monday threw 2 innings, hadn't done that since June. But, he threw 5 pitches in his first inning, and I don't know if that was the plan. He threw 1 pitch on the walk-off loss in San Diego when Laureano was supposed to bunt but didn't know the signal, so he just walked off the game instead. But it's easy to sometimes take Garrett Whitlock for granted, right? Because he has been so good, and now that his role has been defined, or even talking to Alex Cora, in Houston, Corbin said, no, you watch him and you point, can you imagine getting that for 5-6 innings? But no. It's like you have to, stop yourself. Just let him do what he's doing. Let's hear what Garrett Whitlock had to say about it. Then we'll talk on the backside. Good conversation I had in Houston with Garrett Whitlock. Here it is on 3:10 to left, presented by your New England Ford dealers.
2 innings last night, Garrett, 17 pitches. Do you think that was the plan, or that you got through that 7th inning so quickly that you were fresh and go back out there?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was the plan or not, but glad I could be efficient and go out there for the 2nd inning and throw up 2 zeros. So I was happy about that.
Yeah, offense had just put 4 runs up on the board. It's a 1-run game. You come out 5 pitches later, you're in. They're back up. Like, how good does that feel? That offense has a little momentum going as a pitcher to get them right back out there. How does that feel?
Yeah, shutdown innings are always great. So like whenever the team scores, whether it's 1 run or a bunch of runs like that, you always want to go out there and get them back at the batter's box as quick as you can. And so that was a good feeling.
The other side of that is Saturday in San Diego, right? You come out 1 pitch later, it's over. And Laureano walks it off, says after, they were giving me the bunt sign, but I didn't know the bunt sign. So it's like, that's baseball, man. Like, right? Like, he wasn't even supposed to do what he did.
Yeah.
And it chops over somebody's head.
Yeah, and that was the thing, as AC, talked to me. It was just like, hey, man, that's exactly what we wanted. We wanted the guy on first base, double play opportunity, and you got the ground ball we wanted, and it was just just bounced over his head, and that's baseball luck. And so it'd have been different if I'd have left him a cookie and he'd have laced a double in the gap or whatever. But it's one of those where you're just like, dang, like you hate that it happened, but you just tip your cap to him and move on.
You come in with the ghost runner now, and it's not that new anymore, obviously. But when you come in extra innings, is it just like coming in after a guy leaves? Like, is there a different mentality now? Like, what's it like coming into those 10th innings as a pitcher?
You do have to change a little bit because, especially like that
if you
situation,
didn't score, right? If you didn't score in the top half,
in that situation, you're just like, man, like just trying to be extra precise, and like especially with like when we had the runner on first, it's like, hey, I am looking for a ground ball here, and again, got a ground ball, it just went over his head, and so it's one of those things where. Again, if that's the seventh, because we were talking about it, we were like, man, if that's the 7th or the 8th inning, it's perfect, ground ball right to him, double play. And I looked at AC and I was like, well, I wouldn't have walked him if it was. But just a little bit different. So
we're down to, it's not quite the sprint, but we're getting there, right? Like 40 games, give or take. This team has over the last 2 months, really, right, since like early June, like we're into the 3rd month of it now, pretty consistent play. And you've seen these young guys really come together, right? You've seen them coming over the last couple of years. But now, talking to Rafaela the other day, like he was talking about last year, he didn't say this point blank, but he was sort of saying last year was development. I'm still trying to be a major leaguer every day. He goes, this year, I go for 4, we win. I'm as happy as you could be. Like, it's about winning now. And it's always about winning, I understand that. But there is a little bit of a change. Like, this team believes it can win. This team is here to try to go deep. How great does it feel to be back into that?
Yeah, it's a great feeling. I mean, I think, when we were talking as guys, like, we always have that mindset of we're never out of any game. I mean, you see it last night, down by 5 runs, and the offense has that mentality of just like, hey, we're never out of this game. We can always put it up. I mean, you saw what we did in Philly, down 6-0 and put a 6 spot up in 1 inning. So that's the nice thing about these guys is like the offense is just relentless. And so, it's fun, being down there in the bullpen, I'm stretching down 7-2 because I'm like, hey, like, we're not out of this. Like, these boys can rake.
You glad you don't have to face Roman Anthony?
Yeah, I'm glad he's on my team.
21 years old, man. How impressive is he? I mean, there's a lot of, I'm not trying to single him out compared to other guys because a lot of impressive, but for 21 years old, man, he is such a mature young ball player.
Yeah, and I think that speaks for itself. I was talking to his dad in Chicago. I got the pleasure of meeting his dad for the first time there, and I was just like, hey, listen, man, like, I'm sure you get told a lot that your son's a great ball player, and I was just like, honestly, what I want to tell you is just like how proud and impressed I am at how he is as a person. And so, it's really cool to see at 21 years old the kind of person he is, and a lot of people that don't get to see it like on the camera, like he's signing autographs for kids at the hotel, like after games and everything. Even when we get in at 1 a.m., I saw him stop and sign for a kid and everything. And so it's those kind of things where it's just like it shows the true character of who he is, not just on the field but off the field. And I think that's a huge thing that really the community in Boston will grow to know and appreciate and love about Roman as well.
Back to the bullpen, I think we talked a lot about the San Diego bullpen over the weekend. It's a good one, obviously. But quietly, you guys have, I think, the 2nd or 3rd best ERA of any bullpen in the American League. And it's interesting because a lot of different irons. You have a lot of lefties, you got, right? Like, it's an interesting mix out there. But how much confidence do you guys have as a group that bullpen can come in? Whether it's last night, let's stop it here and give them a chance, protecting a 2-run lead. Like, talk a little about the mentality of this bullpen.
Listen, when you got Chapman down there, you're feeling pretty darn good. I honestly didn't know that about the statistics or whatever, but I think we're just a bullpen in general. We kind of have that mentality as we're one unit. I don't think anyone is down there, thinking like independently or anything. We take a lot of enjoyment and just like, hey, we're one unit down there. We're picking everybody up. We're all going together, and I think that's just kind of the mentality we got down there, and so it's a fun group of guys, and just love being around it.
Did you know last night matched your career high in appearances?
No.
last night matched your career high in appearances. So congratulations on that.
Thanks.
But what it really speaks to is health, right? You've been able to stay out there for the year. I feel like it's been a drama-free year for you. Not that you're a dramatic guy at all, but there, injuries or roles, right? Is he going to be a starter this year? Like, you've been a reliever. You've been posting all season. How good does it feel to know this is my job and I go do it every night?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I said that before the year that I wanted to, my number one goal for this year was, a full healthy 162. And so, I'm not there yet. Still want to keep going. But I'm happy that I've been able to stay on the field so far and, try and post as best as I can and, try and give as good a results as I can do. And I know I haven't been perfect and I know I've let it down a couple of times. And, I just want to continue to show up each day and give the best I can that day.
You also continue to do so much in the community. Jimmy Fund Radio Telethon next week. It's such an emotional, such an incredible couple of days. We're surrounded by families and their stories. And I know it means a lot to you and it's personal to you. I can just tell their stories, help them tell their stories, and then go have a coffee. You got to go try to beat the Baltimore Orioles. Like, how do you compartmentalize it? Because I know it is personal for you, but you've got to go out and do your job. That's an emotional couple of days, isn't it?
It's a very emotional couple of days. The compartmentalized thing, I think it's literally just like I try and just focus on the game at that point because, you're right. Like, every time you meet these families and talk to them and, love them on as best as you can, it does touch you on an emotional level. And so, you feel that. And I think, like, you and me had talked about it too. Like, now that I'm a parent, like, it means so much more to me. And so it's one of those things where, you try and compartmentalize it, but at the same time, like, when you're with them, be present and just, like, love on them as best as you can. And, it's an amazing thing, and I'm so glad to be a part of it.
You don't do it alone. Jordan's very involved. Your family's very involved. Brooks will be very involved. I don't know if he knows that yet, but he'll get there. But just talk about what it means to your family, how it's become so personal. Like, it's one thing to show up at a golf course and play in somebody's charity tournament and say, I'm helping out, right? A lot of guys do that, and that's great. It all matters. But you've really taken this to the next level, and your whole family's gotten involved. Tell me what it means to you guys.
Yeah, honestly, I think Brock showed me that the best. It was really cool, getting to meet his family for the first time and seeing how involved the entire family was. And that was one of those things where I think Jordan, my wife, really saw that as well and was just like, oh, like, we can do this together. This is really neat. And so it gives us a purpose in the Boston community that we can both do together. Because a lot of the time, this job is just like me. And so, like, it's awesome, that this is something that we can do together. And so, like, when we have that purpose and that drive together, it's amazing. And like you said, Brooks will learn to love it as well.
You were not a Bostonian. You're not from up north. And the way people there are, you probably never will be considered one of us, okay? But we've accepted you and we like you. But it does really make you feel part of the community, doesn't it? Like, even in the off season, you guys will come back and you guys will be involved in things. Tell me about that connection with Boston and what the Jimmy Fund plays in that role.
Yeah, it's such a rooted foundation in Boston, and it was literally like when we go there, it feels like home. Miss Lisa has become a second mother to me, and she's fantastic. Her and Jordan get along great, and yeah, like you said, it's one of those things where it makes me feel like a part of the community. It feels like we have a purpose up here in Boston, and I think that's the biggest thing is just like having a purpose and like feeling connected to these families and patients and loved ones.
You go down a lot and you don't do it for fanfare, you don't do it with cameras, you go visit. You see what happens down there. A lot of people who watch this telethon will never go inside the doors, fortunately. That means they didn't have to go, right? But you understand that the miracles are happening there. Tell people why this matters, why they should make a pledge, why they should make a gift.
Yeah, it's amazing. Literally from the time you step through the door, like, I know we say it every time, it's just you can't help but smile because literally, like, every single employee there, every single volunteer there always has a smile on their face. These kids, they just, the resilience and just the love and just the joy that they have is so, like, you just can't help but, like, love the joy and the smile and, like, the caring that they have. And so it's awesome to be able to see that on a first-hand basis. And so, again, like, just literally with the nurses, the doctors, the volunteers, the patients, it's so well run that, you always want to make sure that what you're giving to is going to a good cause, especially if you can't see it firsthand. And so, like, having seen it firsthand, you're just like, wow, like, what I'm giving to is going to matter because it's going to change lives. It's going to have an impact because, like, it is so well run there, and I think that's the best way to explain it.
That's a perfect way to put it. I want to finish back with baseball. Do you know, here's another one you might not know. Do you know, I was looking this up, the 2021 playoffs, you are the only one on the active roster who played in that postseason. When did you become the old guy?
Oh, man. I don't know when I became that daggone old, but yeah.
It's unbelievable. I mean,
wow.
And you look around baseball, there really is a pretty constant turnover. It's not that, but it, you know, with Tanner on the IL and Rafi gone, you're the lone man standing.
Yeah, wow. Now I do feel old, thank you.
But I was thinking about that last night, right? It was loud here.
Yeah.
It felt like Red Sox, Houston, like, it's 21. We go back to there's been a lot of playoffs between these two teams. It kind of felt like that last night. How exciting is it? I know you never think ahead, but to try to bring that back to Boston. Like, you've already felt it at Fenway a little bit. It's been getting louder. And last night, you guys were in this one-run game and a place is bonkers. My phone keeps going out, loud environment. But how exciting is it to sort of be bringing that back to Fenway?
It's very exciting. I mean, me and Weiser were talking about it last night, because, like, we would have to stop talking because we couldn't hear each other and I didn't want to yell, like, because of the environment and it was so loud and everything. And I looked at him and I was just like, dude, there is nothing compared to playing in the playoffs in Boston. And he was just like, dude, I'm so excited. I want it so bad. And I think that's the thing is, like, everybody on this team has that drive for that. And obviously it starts with AC. And I think that that's just the drive that we all have is, like, we're taking it one game at a time. We're taking it one day at a time. But we have our sights set on where we want to go. And I think that's just the fun and amazing thing to see about it.
You were so young that year. I mean, you were new to all of it, right? And when I talk to guys, Mike Timlin's a guy I always remember, right? He won a World Series each of his first 2 years. And he's like, all right, that's what we do. And then it was like 19 years before he got back, right? Like, even playoff races, meaningful baseball in August and September. How much more do you appreciate it all now because of a lot of what you've been through the last few years?
Yes, and that's the thing is I appreciate it so much more because, like you said, first year I get the taste and it's just like, oh man, this is awesome. And then the following years happen and you're just like, no, I want that back. I want that drive. Like, I want these meaningful games. I want that, like, competitiveness. And I think that's what drives everyone forward because, like, if you didn't want that, then why are you here? And I think that's the joyful thing is, like, everyone on that field has that exact same drive.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
Thank you.
310 to left is presented by your New England Ford dealers who've been taking everyone out to the ball game at Fenway Park for decades. Catch Ford next time you're at Fenway, including in the Ford Clubhouse, a full-service bar perfect for bringing your lineup together and for recording our live edition of 310 to left. It's all brought to you by your New England Ford dealers and F-Series, America's best-selling trucks for 48 years and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox.
Listen to him there talk about trying to get the playoffs back to Fenway and Greg Weissert saying how excited he is to be a part of that. It kind of stopped Alex Cora in his tracks the other day. He was like, we were talking about who's left, and there's nobody left from 2018. But he's like, that Alex Cora saying, that doesn't surprise me because that's a lifetime in our game now, the way it's done. He goes, but Garrett Whitlock and Tanner Houck being the only guys from 21, he goes, that stopped me at my tracks. I was like, no way. And it's crazy. He's 29 years old now, Whitlock, and he has quietly become an important leader in that bullpen. Still as quiet and unassuming and as humble a guy as you'll ever meet. But, man, he's been an important part of it this year.
Yeah, we talk about swing and miss. No one's been getting more of it in the second half of the season than Garrett Whitlock. It took him a while to work through just getting the feel back for the mound at the beginning of the season, right? Like, there were atypical control issues. You hear Alex Cora talk a lot about the walks that he was issuing to right-handed hitters, having been a little bit of a signal that he was still kind of working his way back into what he was doing on the mound. But once he returned to first kind of got on a roll, just got familiar with being back on the mound and could find his delivery. And secondly, found this role of being the single inning guy. he's been overpowering, and he's the guy who has been able to get critical strikeouts in the late innings. The stuff looks really, really good. Tremendous life on the pitches. The shapes of the pitches are once again very much what the best version of Garrett Whitlock in 2021 looked like, where the changeup is once again diving. Sometimes in recent years, when it had flattened out, he became vulnerable. Right now, it's got that great depth to it, so that along with obviously both the four seamer and the sinker, as well as the slider, he's just in a really good spot with a lot of weapons. They can confuse hitters in the late innings, and he's been a very important part of the Red Sox being on this sustained run, because he, next to Chapman, has been this kind of late innings the cornerstone that's allowed the Red Sox to turn most of their leads into wins.
And a career high in appearances, right? At 46 as a rookie, there now. And it speaks to what he's been through over the last few years between injuries and role changes. And when he called Alex Cora in the offseason and said, we ought to just put me in the bullpen and leave me there. And again, like I said before, Cora's watching it Monday night saying, man, I get 2 innings of that tonight. If I got 6 innings of that every 5th day, what would that? And it's hard to resist the temptation, because he's so good and so efficient when he's on his game that it's easy to think of what he would be as a starter, but it's clear he's found his role. You don't want to mess with it.
Yeah, and again, I kind of agree with that perspective of the pitch mixes would work really well as a starter. The problem is that he's just never been able to remain healthy in that role, and so there, he's also struggled to remain healthy in the bullpen side of things. But there's been a lot of shuttling. His healthiest 2 years in the big leagues have been 2021, when it was nothing but the bullpen, and then 2025, where it's been nothing but the bullpen. And so this seems like a better fit for being able to ensure that you get the most of Garrett Whitlock. And the regular availability, the fact that he has 46 appearances, whatever, mid 40s appearances at this point, and is tracking for high 50s to 60-ish, particularly given that that number is dampened a little bit by the fact that early in the season he required extra rest between those multi-innings outings. He's been an incredibly important contributor to the Red Sox in a year where Justin Slayton hasn't been on the mound in months, where Liam Hendriks never has been able to resume the role that he was that was kind of slated for him. They've had a lot of instability in the setup side of things. Again, the bigger picture is that their bullpen overall has been excellent, which is pretty impressive given that there have been some moving pieces. But the 2 pieces that have not moved, especially over the last few months, have been Chapman and Whitlock.
Yeah, Whitlock leads the team in relief innings, leads the team in relief strikeouts, been indispensable. All right, you got a couple minutes left. Next week, our next edition that you and I will do will be Monday at the Jimmy Fund Radio Telethon, an incredible couple of days, raising millions to help the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute in the fight against cancer. You were the captain of Team 49 in the Jimmy Fund Walk. Your family did an amazing job putting that together and getting so many of us excited. What do those 2 days mean to you? What are the Jimmy Fund Radio Telethon and your ability to help in this battle, Alex? What does that mean to you?
Well, it's just an opportunity to appreciate all of the work and all of the caring that exists in the what is a collective fight against cancer. This is not something that this is something that for so many years cancer was something that people went through in isolation, and it was a sentence, right? Rather than the circumstances in which we now find ourselves, where there is this incredible opportunity to support those who are around us, who are dealing with health scares in their life, who are dealing with very real and with what. We're creating hope, right? Like, it's an opportunity to take back some of the sense of helplessness that exists when you hear the word cancer, and to and to think that there's a better future that can be had. And so, we all get to strive together, to walk together towards that future. So that's why, it meant a lot to us to be able to honor Tim Wakefield's legacy and think about how we could follow in his path, right? And it meant a lot, Tom, that that we got to accompany you and Kelly on the walk, and that we all got to experience this shared sense of purpose, which is really what these couple of days are about. What does it mean for you, Tom? You go, you are the one who's in front of the cameras for the longest. What's that like for you?
Well, it's, what it is you said it, it humanizes the people who are going through the fight, right? I've been doing this for 22 of these now. We jumped it in year 2, 23, I guess. They were, as you said, sentences, right? The cancers we were talking about when we first came on the air with the Jimmy Fund Radio Telethon were fatal, and they are now chronic. They are treatable. There's no cure for cancer yet. But many of these cancers can be put into remission. I was talking to somebody yesterday who's been in 10 years in remission and having a conversation about what their life is like. And cancer is just something that they deal with, not something that threatens their lives or their families or their ability to live. And that's all because of the money, because the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute is an amazing place. The treatment, the research, all being done under one roof. And so they can take a new clinical trial, they can walk it down the hall and see the real results in patients. Where in this, one thing I've learned as co-chair of the Jimmy Fund, when you look around, so much of the world of philanthropy, and especially on the medical side, is there's so much red tape sometimes to go from concept to trial to usage. And when it's all under one roof, you get around and cut through all that red tape. So it is all because of the money. It's an incredible couple of days. I asked Garrett about that, as you heard. Like, how do you compartmentalize these emotional 2 days and then go out and try to strike out some Orioles? And it's, if anything, it's lifting. It's uplifting to hear what the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute has meant to so many people. So we'll talk more about that next week, because our show will be from the Jimmy Fund Telethon. We asked everybody over the couple of days, Monday and Tuesday next week, to tune in, to watch, to listen, and to make a pledge and to help strike out cancer. So we'll talk more about that next week. Alex, as always, it's great to see you. Can't wait to see you at Fenway Park in person.
It'll be great, Tom. Really looking forward to it.
All right. For Alex Speier, I'm Tom Caron. This has been 310 to Left, presented by your New England Ford dealers in F-Series, America's best-selling truck for 48 years, and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox. We'll see you again next time.